All right, we are live. Good evening, everyone. Well, it's afternoon.
Good
Good afternoon,
afternoon.
everyone. I'm Dr. Michelle.
And I'm Teresa Pelham with the Grants Boutique.
Sorry, I had my my live on Instagram and it was giving a feedback. Let me make sure it's good. All right, it's live over there. Sorry, I'm Dr. Michelle. That's Teresa. Go ahead, Teresa. I interrupted you.
No, I was just introducing myself. Hi, I'm Teresa Pelham with the Grants Boutique, where we provide comprehensive grant writing services. What we do is we win grants to fund a higher purpose.
I love that. I always love it every time you say it. It never gets old. So today we're going to be talking about something that I think floats around in the entrepreneur space quite often, and there's a time and a place for it. So it's that phrase, that old adage that says, "Is done is better than perfect." And so in the grant world, that's not always the case. We can't just throw something out there. So I want to give that context so people properly understand what that means, and then I'll let Teresa, because Teresa gonna talk to y'all up and down. She gonna talk y'all down about this, okay? So when we say done is better than perfect, this is what it's supposed to mean. It means don't wait for everything to be perfect, because a lot of times perfectionism holds us back from just putting ourselves out there. A lot of times it's fear. Is more fear than actual having a quality product over anything. So it's more, we'll change it. Don't let fear stop you from putting it out there. So now that we got that straight, I'm gonna let Teresa talk to you about how done is not good enough when in the ground.
Yeah. Sometimes, many of you I've already stated it before, that I am a federal grant reviewer. And so a lot of times when I review grants, I can tell if it's a rush job, if they just copied and pasted and didn't read it, or if they just didn't really put a good foot forward in doing it, taking the time. So when you write a grant, I always talk about grant readiness. That way, when your grant opportunity comes, you'll be ready to apply. And so a lot of times when you don't get ready, that when you hurry through a grant, then we as grant reviewers, we can really tell. So I don't want you all to do that. I see things like not answering the questions correctly. I see things like missing answers to questions that they asked in the notice of funding opportunity. I see things misspelled, improper grammar used, not really able to tell your story effectively or sufficiently for the grant. So I can tell when you hurry through these grant processes. And sometimes it's a learning process, but that's why we are so big on you all getting ready to apply for a grant, because done is not always perfect in the grant world. Okay, so remember that.
That's good. I my ears picked up very quickly typos, misspellings, and those are very minor things that to a grant reviewer, and honestly to even me, like me, if I read your Facebook post and there's no punctuation, I'm going to ignore it. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to read it because commas, periods, they matter in sentence structure. And so if a grant writer is anything like me, I'm not going to read it because I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the thought you're really trying to convey, because like I'm trying to it's like I'm trying to read code. So you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
those are very minor details. And imagine you not winning the grant because you didn't proofread.
Right.
And I'm going to sit for a little bit because that sucks.
She already know how I am with that. But another thing I see a lot when you're hurrying and trying to get it done, you use a lot of acronyms like and don't tell us what that means. And
girl, I
had a grant proposal that I was reading, and the whole thing was that. And we were like, we have no clue what they're talking about. We couldn't even give them a good score. And it seemed like a very good organization and a very good project, but I had no clue. We had no clue. I even gave it to a colleague and my and they couldn't understand it because we were like, well, what does that mean? And we don't have enough time, a federal government, we don't have time to go and look up every little acronym. So if you're going to use it, at least tell me what does it mean at the beginning, and then later on in the paragraph, go ahead and use it. But
Now,
just put it out there.
I gotta say this. Imagine losing out on a grant because you didn't write out what the acronyms mean. See how simple, like as Teresa's explaining this, you see how simple a lot of these things are. You're making them do too much guesswork. I don't know what you're trying to say because there's no punctuation. I don't know what you're trying to say because I don't know what these acronyms mean. They're like, and then, like you said, trying to Google it, things mean the same thing out there. So which one is you? You making me work too hard. And if I had the choice between on your grant application versus someone else's, I'm gonna choose someone else's because they're not making me work hard. They're giving me everything. I can understand it. I can read it. So I really want that to sit. Losing out on grant applications because of punctuation. Losing out on $25,000, $100,000 because you didn't explain your acronyms. These people don't work with you or for you. That's all I had to say.
My thing is, when you write your grant proposal, be concise and be clear. We don't, like she said, don't make us guess of what you're trying to say. Don't make us guess your methodology of what you're trying to do. Don't make us guess about the impact you're going to provide to the community. Be clear, be concise. Let us know what you want to do. So that's one of the things that I have.
I love that. Don't make us guess. Because honestly, it's like that in anything. I think sometimes we put our best in. Well, let me not say that. I was about to say we put our best foot forward on when we're applying for a job, but that's not true. People have the same issue, incomplete resumes, things that what are we talking about? It looks like you did it real quick. So it's just a good common practice. If you're submitting something that is good for you, like where you have to compete, where we're talking about a job, an internship, a grant, it really doesn't matter. You're having to compete. Right. Even we're talking about a loan, a business loan, a mortgage loan, you're not necessarily competing, but you're wanting somebody to say yes to you. If you make their job hard, that yes is further and further away. Girl, when I say I was so grateful, so I applied for this loan, right? And I didn't realize that I had messed up on the application. I think they asked me something. I might have just interpreted it wrong, and I answered it wrong. And so they came back, and I'm gonna come back as a question up here. They came back and they started asking me all these questions, but it was because I answered it wrong. But I was so grateful that they went through the process to get to the root of it, because they could have just said denied. Right. And it would have been my fault. And there's nothing I really could have said about it.
Yes. Okay. So I see. So based on this, what are definite no's and what are her good look fors? I like what you say, good look for. I'm looking, when we review applications, we have the notice of funding opportunity with us because we always refer back to that, what the agency asks the applicants to provide. So one thing you need to do is follow the notice of funding opportunity. If they ask you a certain question, answer it. Don't go out somewhere else in the wild yonder and put all this information that does not tie to what the funder asks you. So one thing, make sure your answers are clear, concise. Make sure you're following what the NOFO asks you to. Read over it. Another thing I see, when sometimes in the NOFO, they have a question and another part to it. A lot of people answer the first part, but they forget the and. And so what we do in our industry, in my business, we have highlighters. I circle every and one color. If it's an or, we go back and circle, highlight that, another color. So we make sure we're capturing everything the agency wants. So That's one thing. Clear and concise. Follow the NOFO. When you rush, you don't have time for other people to read over it. So you need somebody, another eye on you. I even have colleagues, they read over my stuff, and I do it all day. But I say, hey, do you have time? I'm writing this grant. Can you read over this? And they'll say, sure. And I read over their things. So make sure somebody read over, because sometimes having that other eye or a different eye can pull out some things that you don't see. So I want it to be clear and concise. I want it to follow the NOFO. I want you to have somebody else read over it. And what they're reading over is for if that person who don't know you or may know you do not understand what you're talking about, how a reviewer who don't know you at all going to understand. So make sure somebody read over it so they can understand what you're trying to say. Is this question clearly answered? So that's another thing. Make sure you go over your grammar and punctuation. And make sure it makes sense. A lot of times, one time I read an application, and I know that this person texts a lot because they wrote like they text. So we don't do that in our grant applications. Okay. Don't put
big fan. No. Don't text me like that
in there.
Don't even text me like that, because I don't know what a lot of that stuff mean. Okay. When you like 35, 30 plus, you don't know what a lot of these I have to Google acronyms. Okay. Right. Spell it out for me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, do it. Don't use text language in your grant proposal or your grant submission. All right. So do that. So I want clear and concise. Follow the NOFO. Make sure you have somebody proofread it for you so you can get all your edits and everything, your grammar corrected. And I think that's about all we do. Oh, make sure when I say follow the NOFO, if they tell you 20 pages, do 20 pages. I know it's a burning passion, and I know you love your project or your program. But if you give us 30 pages, 10 will be redacted. So put the 20 pages. If they tell you 150 pages, don't give us 350 pages, because they will be redacted. Okay. So follow what the NOFO says. Another thing, and this is probably later when it's done. When you all, this is just a sidebar. When you all look at a notice of funding opportunity or a request for a proposal, make sure your program has the capacity to fulfill what the NOFO is saying. That's just a sidebar. This has nothing to do with that. Just make sure. A NOFO is a notice of funding opportunity. It is the announcement that they sent. It used to be notice of funding announcement, but now they said notice of funding opportunity. It is the announcement that tells you, hey, we have this grant. This is the purpose of the grant. This is how much we're planning on funding. And these are the things we want you to put in your grant submission or your grant proposal.
You see how them acronyms got us real quick? That was a perfect example of what happens on a grant application. Because sometimes you assume people know. Right. She said those acronyms. Exactly. Yep. Like I was just reading a brochure, right? And it's in my industry. But I'm reading and I see these acronyms. I'm like, so I go back to like page 1, page 2. I do a control F to find. They did not explain like half the acronyms in this brochure. I had to email somebody to figure like, hey, what does this mean? Do you think they're going to do that for your application? It's going to be next. Okay.
No, we're not going to. We're going to try to do the best we can, but no, we're not. I was just going to say another thing. When you rush and try to get it done, you don't have time to reach out to the funders to ask them questions. Most of the funders have, when you go get the NOFO or on their web page, they have an email address or a phone number where you can call their concierge desk, or where you can email them with questions. They usually have a window of time that you can email with questions. So if you are rushing and didn't do and wait till the last minute, you miss out on that window to really ask them questions to explain something you don't understand in the notice of funding opportunity.
That's good, because I think that's a passing point because it's so common to you, Teresa. But the fact that a lot of people don't know that you can actually reach out to ask questions.
Yes.
If you don't know something, then ask. Like, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't, you don't look dumb, you don't look stupid, you don't look any of those things. If you don't understand, ask, because we would rather you ask so that way you get it right than assume, and you assume wrong and now you missed out. So let's take it back what I've been saying all episodes. We're gonna have to put this in our book, Teresa, because every time I get inspiration, I'm gonna write it down. Imagine missing out on $50,000 worth of grant money because you didn't get one question answered. And that was the key to ruining it all, because you assumed wrong and now you didn't get anything.
Right. Now,
hopefully this is challenging you to like do something a little different than you've done before.
Right. Right. And when we do that, when we do grant reviews and stuff, most applications are reviewed and it's based on a point system. So if you miss out something, you don't get the points, but somebody else who put it in will get those points. So you got to be careful. And in the notice of funding opportunity, it tells you how many points each, most of them tell you how many points each section you'll get, especially with the federal grants. So you got to be careful. You have to be careful and be concise and don't rush. Don't rush.
That's good. Because I think that's, again, another point. It's a passing point to you. But for those of us on our outside, we're not the grant writers. We're more the ones trying to win the grants, especially when you're doing it yourself. You don't know there's a point system. And like, I'm in the education world, so I just assume there's a rubric because they ask you certain questions. They're looking for certain responses. And based on what you say, there's a scale of how many points you get. That's just because I have an education background. But to the common person that doesn't have an education background, you're kind of brand new to this. You're submitting it. You're thinking they're gonna may reward it because they like the way you answer it. Just because you can write poetically, it doesn't mean you're gonna win. So that may be something that you didn't even know that you're missing out because you didn't, like you said, do the second part of the compound sentence. It said something and something. Well, you missed out on half the points already because you didn't answer. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind as you're filling out your grant applications, that they are looking for you to say key things. That means you have to answer the questions. That means you can't just submit it real fast and then expect to be rewarded. So done is not better than perfect in the grant world.
No, it's not. So don't rush. Take your time. And that's why we tell you all to plan. Grant readiness. Plan. Because like you said, done is not better than perfect.
No, it's not.
It's not.
This is good. Teresa, you dropped like 45 nuggets on the people. So if you tuned in kind of halfway, go back and watch it from the beginning. I know I'll share it out on my social media channels because it was so many things wrapped up. And I think the bottom line is you need to be very intentional because we're wrapping up here. So this is my last piece that I want to say. Be intentional, like take the time that's required to submit it. And of course, the more you do it, the better you get. What doesn't take you as long, but don't submit. So you're probably not going to see something unless if you're a novice, you're probably not going to see that something is due today at 3, it's 8 a.m. and you get it done and you win it. If you're a novice, it takes time. It takes intentionality, asking questions, getting someone else to proofread it, proofreading yourself. I hate proofreading, but if it's some money behind it, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to proofread it. So take the time, find the time to make sure you are giving your best effort to these grant applications.
That's it. We want to see your best. So take the time, plan out what you're going to do. And even in fact, now you can go on and look for grants that maybe not due until the end of March or April. You can start planning now to submit for those grants. But the thing is, don't rush. Read the notice of funding opportunity. Do what it says. Proofread. Be, like she say, intentional. Be clear. Make your answers are clear and concise. All right.
Yeah.
So done is not better than perfect in the grant. Not in the grant world.
Nope. I mean, remember we cleared it up at the beginning. Done being better than perfect only works when we're talking about not putting something out there due to fear. Okay. We don't want you to be afraid to submit. That's why you need to grab this grant checklist so you don't be afraid. So grantsuccessunlocked.com/checklist. That way you feel more confident. You'll know exactly what you need. It's a very comprehensive list. You may not need it for every single grant, but having it is better to have it and be able to grab it real quick as opposed to having to scramble and get it. That's when you start to run out of time. In time you don't have enough to grab. Oh, I got to get this. I need this. My financials, and your financials not in order. You're
not ready. So
grab a checklist.
Right. Because we want you to be ready. And that's and I'm telling you, experienced grant reviewers, we know when something has been rushed or half done, or you just hurriedly copied and paste, and we know. So take the time, go ahead and get your documents. And remember, we talked about creating those folders that go with the grant checklist, those headings. Go ahead and create those folders and put those documents in there, and put what we said that you needed in there. Things that you can go ahead and write now about your organization. Go ahead and put it in those separate folders so you'll be ready. All right. Don't let fear stop you. Let preparation take you to the grant and get the grant.
That's good. And thank you, Majida. I hope I'm saying it right. Thank you for tuning in. And she asked one more question, and we'll wrap after this. Where can you find grants for new business owners?
For new business owners, that's a it depends question. It depends on what business that you're starting. I always tell new business owners to always go to like the incubators and accelerators. First, if you're brand new, go to an incubator, because sometimes they will help you go get everything you need in your business. And then you can be able to pitch your business for pitch competitions where you can get money from. Or sometimes some incubators will have a grant that you can get after you go through their program. So do it that way.
That's good. All righty. Well, I enjoyed chatting with you guys. I'm glad we got some people to dialogue with us, because sometimes we just want to talk to y'all. Talk back to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, we want to talk
back to you. I love questions.
You know? So we'll be here every single week. We're coming back next Tuesday. Drop your comments in the comments in the comment section, and we'll be sure to circle back to make sure we hit them. So you are so welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.